Hey there guys, welcome to AFC Game by Game, and this is the first Q&A that I'm doing of 2016. Yeah, really looking forward to getting into this one. I haven't done a question and answer on the channel in about a year now. The last one I did was back in January 2015. I should probably make these a more frequent thing. If you want to see more Q&As on the channel, please do let me know in the comments box below, and possibly I will make a few more of these over the course of the year. But I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. So without further ado, let's get stuck into the questions. First question coming in from @AshW Forbes reads, which realistic signings do you think we will and should make? Well, regarding this January transfer window, we're already seeing Mohamed El Nene come in from Basel, a signing that I'm really looking forward to seeing, but I think we all know a lot about him already. In terms of other players I'd like to see come into the club, possibly someone like Adrien Rabiot, players that I'm looking at as replacements for the likes of Arteta, Flamini, Tom Rosicky, those kind of players that look to be leaving the club in the summer. But possibly we need a goal-scoring winger as well, and I say that because you could argue we have got an Alexis Sanchez and Theo Walcott, but someone that can cut in from that right-hand side and consistently score goals for us. I don't think we've got that at the moment on the right-hand flank, because we seem to be a bit unsure of what our best option is on the right-hand side, whether it's Ramsey, whether it's Walcott, whether it's Oxlade-Chamberlain. We seem to be very uncertain of it at this moment in time. I'm not too hung up on the idea of getting a striker in, because Giroud's been phenomenal for us, and Walcott has shown that he's more than capable of being an alternative when we come up against a team which plays a high line. So in my opinion, we don't need a striker, we need a few more midfielders and possibly a centre-half, considering that Mertesacker and Laurent Koscielny are entering the wrong side of 30 now. Next question from @JTweet7 says, if we win the league, do you think Wenger will retire? Now, the obvious argument here is that if we win the league, Wenger goes out on a high. Everyone remembers him as being a great manager, although on the flip side, if he was to win the league this season and have a horrendous season the season after, then everyone would turn against him again. But the reasoning that I think he'll stay at the club if we were to win the league is because that he will get more success. He's a fantastic manager. We saw that before we had that horrible 10-year period where we didn't really win much. So in my opinion, if we were to win the league, I would trust him solely to go on and go out there and possibly reclaim another title for us. So I think he'll stay at the club if we do win the league. Next question from @_football_lab is, will the Premier League be as open as it is now next season? I think it really depends how heavily City, Chelsea, United and ourselves invest over the course of the summer. Those, in my opinion, are the big four clubs that should be getting the top four spots. But as we've seen this season with Leicester, I mean, even teams like West Ham, Watford, Crystal Palace competing for essentially top four spots. It's pretty crazy to think those teams are getting close to a Champions League place. It really is hard to determine how open the Premier League will be. You don't have that big four clubs anymore. I remember about 10 years ago, it was Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea and United. You don't have that anymore because City have invested so heavily. Spurs are looking like a decent outfit this season. So it's really hard to determine, and I honestly can't really answer that one. @Cockney Bellerin says, if you could swap 3 teams from the PL with 3 teams from any other league, what would they be and why? Well, I'm going to go with, first and foremost, Barcelona, and I'll swap them with Sunderland because Sunderland are just so boring and predictable season upon season. They seem to be flirting with relegation over and over again, but always seem to stay up by the skin of their teeth. So Sunderland, for me, would be swapped with Barcelona. I'd love to see our Barcelona cope at a cold night in Stoke, pretty much. And as well as that, I'd like to see Bayern Munich come in for Aston Villa, because Villa, same reason as Sunderland, they really do bore me. And I'd like to see possibly Dagenham, Redbridge, considering they're my local team, come in for Spurs because, well, they're Spurs. Next question from @Charles_30 says, is our current squad better than the squad we had when we last beat Barcelona at the Emirates? And just to put things in perspective, we had Johan de Giroud starting that game when we beat Barcelona 2-1, so we definitely have a better squad in my opinion. Next up from @Footflash_ says, what's your favourite and worst ever Arsenal moment? Probably my favourite moment would be Danny Welbeck scoring a winner at Old Trafford last year. That was a fantastic game for me to be at. Probably one of the moments that I've mentioned time and time again on this channel, but it personally is one of my favourites. And my worst moment would have to be the 2012 Carling Cup final. Next up from @JackMeller just says, opinions on Wenger. Yeah, he ain't too bad, is he? Next up from @Ruben37745285 says, what was the first ever Arsenal game you went to and how did you get to support Arsenal? Well, I got to support Arsenal simply through my family, but the first game I went to was Arsenal v Udinese not too long ago when we beat them by 1-0. I didn't really get to go to many games before that because my dad didn't really know how to get Arsenal tickets, and neither did I. Given the age I am, I wasn't too aware of how to supply tickets for myself. So it is a bit of a shame that I never got to experience the Highbury years, but I mean, I've had some fantastic memories at the Emirates Stadium, and I'm glad that I'm actually going to see them more and more as we're starting to get back into our prime. Next up from @DengTorit says, I heard Gnabry is back. Should we send him on loan again or just keep him in case of another injury crisis? well, aren't we constantly going through an injury crisis? I mean, I don't know how much of an impact Gnabry would make in the squad, but maybe on one hand, I'd like to see him get possibly a bit of game time in the FA Cup. But he's not even back yet from West Bromwich Albion. I think Wenger recently said that he's got a year-long loan at West Brom and it's going to stay that way unless there's any sudden change from West Brom. But the only way that's going to be any way significant to us is if he actually gets a bit of playing time under Tony Pulis, which at this moment in time doesn't really appear too likely. So I'm not too sure what the situation is with Gnabry. I'd recall him if he's not getting any game time at West Brom and look to loan him out to possibly a Championship club. Next up from at Johnston Daniel 1 says, who is your favourite Arsenal player of all time? I'm leaning towards Thomas Rosicky. Next up from at Hollyberry10 says ketchup or mayo. The obvious choice there is ketchup. Next up from at JMHatch88 says, how did you get your name? Well, my name's not actually Cookie, that's just a nickname. My surname's Cook. Next up from at Zelensky_Carly. I think I've actually said that right, so I'm going to pat myself on the back for that. Did pretty well. Favourite ever Arsenal jersey? I really like the one we wore in 2011-12, but I also like the one we wore in 2010-11. I quite like the one we wear now, but I think the Puma kits aren't quite as nice as the Nike ones. I actually really like the third kit we had last season, the one we wore at Old Trafford away at Dortmund away. That's a really nice kit in my opinion, but the one I'm edging towards is the 2011-12 kit. At Kisali Boy 77 says, what inspired you to start YouTube and what YouTubers do you watch now, if any? I think I had this exact same question last year, but I watch a load of crap on YouTube, to be honest. I love the fan channels like Chelsea Fans Channel, Spurred on TV, Blue Moon Rising TV. I pretty much watch all the other clubs' versions of what Arsenal Fan TV is, just because I think the content that they make is really good. I think it's really professionally done and it's inspiring in a way because I want to be involved in that kind of concept where you're making professional, regular content around football, around your respective football clubs. So those are the kind of things I watch. What inspired me to start YouTube was the former YouTuber Grant All About Arsenal. I thought he did some really good videos. I wanted to echo that in a way, and after we beat Spurs 5-2 at home, I wanted to have my opinions heard. Just literally made a video. If you go all the way back on my channel, you can check that out. I look like a right bell end in it, but I mean, go and have a look at that. I might leave a link to that in the description box below. Next question from at Ronnie9826, were you and Mario Götze separated at birth? To be honest, I really don't see the comparisons. Götze is a good looking bloke. If you think I look like him, then you know, thanks. At SA17HIL says, Barcelona coming, what do you think? Will you progress? Just answer yes or no and prediction of both score of both legs. Yeah, I'm gonna be ambitious and I'm gonna say that we will win. Just answer yes or no. So yeah, we will win. Prediction for both legs, I think we'll win 2-1 at home and I think it'll be 0-0 away. At N Morrison99 says, do you go to any away games? If not, would you consider it? I'd love to go to literally every single away game that Arsenal play, and I'd love to go to Europe. I'd love to go across the globe with Arsenal, but the thing is, away tickets are so hard and difficult to come by. Yeah, I have been to a few away games. I was at Old Trafford last season when we beat them 2-1 with the Welbeck goal, and I was also when we beat, I was also there when we beat Brighton 3-2 away. So those have been 2 away games that I went to in the Cup, but I'd love to get on more away. So if anyone can sort me out tickets, I really would appreciate that. Next question from at the Dark Gooner 7 says, do you like Ozil more than you hate Tottenham? Yeah, obviously. Next question from at Matt Phillips says, who do you want to succeed the most at Arsenal? A lot of people would say Wilshere, but he is so dogged by injuries consistently. I don't really know whether he's going to get a consistent run in the Arsenal team. He would be my natural choice, but someone I'm edging close towards seeing succeed at the club is Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. There's so much raw potential. He's got so much ability, and he's that little less injured than Wilshere is, although he does have his fair share of treatment problems. So for me, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is the player that I want to succeed most at Arsenal. Next question from at Alexis17 editor says, would you rather Ozil gets injured for the rest of the season, but Arsenal go on to win the league, or Ozil wins the Ballon d'Or 2016 and Arsenal win the FA Cup? You can't really put someone's personal achievements above that of the club's, and even though I love Mesut Ozil, I'd much rather Arsenal went on to win the league, even if he wasn't going to be involved in it. Next up from at @4Danny_me says, Wenger in or Wenger out, and why? If you had a gun to my head and you asked that question, I would probably have to go with Wenger in, because you know what, I love the way that we've got one manager for the past 20 years, whereas clubs like Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea have gone through managers like there's nobody's business. So in my opinion, Wenger being our manager is one of the reasons why we're at the position that we are now. We're in a great financial position, we've got a really well-run club, and I think we've got many more years of success to come. So in answer to your question, Danny, Wenger in. Next question from @JustMotta says, favourite Chelsea and Tottenham players? I really do have very few, but I'd probably had to pick possibly Courtois from Chelsea and Willian, and from Spurs edging towards Alderweireld in defence. Next question from @JamesJelf says, Bourbons or Jaffa Cakes? Only one answer there and it's Jaffa Cakes. Next question from @Cartoon660 says, what's your favourite type of music? I'm into pretty much every single type of music except for heavy metal or rock, so pretty much grime, pop, rap, that kind of stuff. I really do like anything pretty much. Next question from @SidTaylor94 says, who had the bigger impact when leaving the club, David Dein or Gary Lewin? I'd 100% say David Dein, because when he left the club, I can't help but feel we turned into more of a corporate identity and a business rather than being an actual football club. Don't get me wrong, I think Ivan Gazidis has done a really good job since coming in and filling the David Dein kind of role. He was fundamental in the transfers of Mesut Ozil and Alexis Sanchez, but it's people like Stan Kroenke and Usmanov that don't really have the same passion for the club that someone like David Dein did. We were such a really well-run club when Dein was in charge. I'm not saying we're a poorly run club now, but I think he cared a lot more about the Arsenal than the current stakeholders do. Next question from @ViviK. Vicky says, if Ozil was to get injured, is there any chance of us winning the league? If you look at the amount of chances he's created for us this season, he's been absolutely integral to the current success that we've had this term. So in my opinion, if he is to get injured, then we stand very slim chances of winning the Premier League title. Next question from Dermot McNamara says, couple of questions. Do you play football at any level? And if so, what's your position? I don't play football at any level. And next up, if you could get 2 interviews for your channel, who would you pick? I'd have no doubts in picking Tony Adams because he's a local guy, and as well as that, I'd have no doubts in picking Thierry Henry. And finally, from Nicholas West, he says, would you rather eat an aubergine or 2 kiwis? And Nick has actually kindly supplied me with 2 kiwis, so that would be my choice. And just for you, Nick, I'm gonna munch into these right away. Thanks for those, Nick. Those are absolutely bang on. But please do check out some of Nick's work. I'll leave a link to his web series in the description box below. He's working on a web series called Moral Conflict, which I've been involved in myself, doing some of the sound engineering and the stills photography for that. And I'd like to think that my input has been somewhat revolutionary. But it's an exciting web series coming out in 2016. Like I say, I'll leave a link in the description, and do follow Nick on Twitter, as well as everyone else that sent in their questions. Thanks to each and every one of you that's got in touch. This Q&A wouldn't have been possible without your overwhelming support. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate that, and I really have enjoyed doing this Q&A. So I will do a few more of these over the course of the year. Like I say, if you do want them to be a more frequent thing, then please do voice your opinion and let me know, because I'm sure there are plenty of others that wanted to have their opinions heard throughout this video. But like I say, thanks to each and every one of you that got in touch. I loved reading out your questions, and I will do a few more of these in 2016 for sure. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Please do drop a like on the video if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe to AFC Game by Game if you're new to the channel. And as always, I will speak to you very, very soon.